I'm just going to jump on what Dan mentioned about resources available. Can someone just confirm that you can see my desktop? I'm showing the main Forest Service webpage, homepage.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So from the main Forest Service homepage, there's a couple different links here to get you to the next step to get to FOResT. There's a link sort of in the middle in the top third of the page. It's file your forest operations notification FONs online, and that same link is in at the top of the right-hand column on that same page. And if you click on it, it takes you to the FOResT Online Resource Tool homepage or landing page, and this is where we're going to present helpful information. Hopefully it's helpful to you to get started using FOResT. Just going to scroll down through here. There's a link right near the top that'll get you to FOResT to start either setting up your account or continuing on and filing a notification. Continuing down, there's just a little bit of background, a timeline of how things should roll out. Information just stating that you need to have an email address to set up a FOResT account. And we also, reiterate that all the parties on a notification need to have a FOResT ID. So that's one of those steps that needs to be done early on in the process. We also have frequently asked questions. My plan was to update this every week, but I think it's just with the process of addressing questions and getting the right answer, it's every 2 weeks. And then we've also made some short videos here of different parts of FOResT. So you can come in here if you want to review how to, what's required of filling out the overview section. You can click on there, and it's tried to be between 2 and 5 minute videos, just short ones to cover specific parts of FOResT. And then down below are the recordings of the overview and demonstrations that we've already had. And then at the very end is if you're frustrated or still have questions, this is how you can get a hold of us. Either call, email, or submit it through an online form with us. So I just want to briefly show you, these resources available for you to help you using FOResT. So the first step in using FOResT, as been mentioned already, is setting up a user account. And I just want to point out I'm using the test environment that we have set up. This isn't the real version that you would be using, but it looks very similar. The only difference is in the public version or production version, you won't have this note at the top here that says test environment. And you'll see as we're going through here, when you first come to this page, there's also a pop-up message saying you're in a test environment. So the first step is to set up a user account, and you do that by scrolling down this page, and in the lower right-hand corner, there's this Create an Account button, and we'll click on that. And this takes you to, it's a pretty basic Create an Account page, similar to other ones you might have gone through on other websites. And I'm just going to scroll down through here just to show you what we're going to be filling in. Your name, company name if you have one, phone number, licensed forester number if you're a licensed forester, email address, as well as a password that you'll be using to log into FOResT, and then your physical address and mailing address if that's different than the physical address you're providing us. So I'm just going to scroll back up here, and we'll just start creating an account here. I'm just going to put myself in. I don't have a company, so I'm going to skip over that. And let me just scroll down here just a bit so you can see. Through this, I'm going to try to point out where we've tried to put in helpful hints or additional information, so you have an understanding of what you need to provide for information. And you'll see here as I'm typing in the phone number. It's asking we just want the numbers, including the area code. No dashes are necessary. If I was a licensed forester, I'd put my number in here. One of the things that we're adding here shortly is a little note to say when you're putting in your license number, you want to start it with the two letters, either LF for licensed forester or FI for forester intern, and then your number. Right now, that it doesn't state anywhere that you need to put those two letters in first. The other trick here, I guess, by putting in your license number here, when you go to fill out a notification, you'll have the option to indicate that you're a licensed forester. If you don't have a license number, as you'll see in my demo, I don't have the option to say that I'm a licensed forester on a notification. So there's a little connection there between your account and what you're able to do on the notification. I'm going to put in my email address that I set up for this demo. And then the password. And this is going to be the password that you're going to use to log into FOResT. And you'll see down below this first text box here are these requirements. And these are all requirements that need to be met to meet the state of Maine security policy. And you'll also see as I'm typing in the requirements, when I meet them, they will disappear from the list here. So to help you as you're typing in a password to make sure that you're meeting the requirements. And I totally lost my place here. And then just type it in again to confirm. Again, once everything is met the requirements, there are no messages down below these two boxes. Put in street address. And if you add a second line, you can put it in there. And so there's, I'm going to say it's the same physical address. The mailing address is the same as the physical address here, so I'm going to check that off. If it's different, you would just put that information in here. And I'm just going to step up here for just a second to demonstrate a little bit of a bug that we're going to be fixing here. So I'm in my mind thinking I've filled out this page and I want to create an account. So right now when I click create an account, okay, so like I said, this is a test environment and this is actually a new update. What I wanted to demonstrate is in the past when you click your create an account button, it wouldn't move, but they've just added some new features here just probably in the past day. So when you click create an account and it's missing information, it's actually going to take you back up on the form to where that information is missing. And again, it's going to have a note right below the box to say what is required or what is missing. So I filled in my street address and I'm going to create an account. And you're going to get a note here just saying, hey, you're almost there. What you need to do now is go check your email in the email account that you provided for this setting up this FOResT account. And just click OK. And it takes you back to the landing page or home page of FOResT. And now what you'll need to do is go over to your email account. And sorry for jumping around here a little bit, but so I'm now in the email account that I just used to set up this FOResT account. And you'll see there's an email here titled Confirm FOResT User Account, Main FOResT Service. And we'll open that up. And you'll see it's just a standard message here just saying that, that the main FOResT service received a request to create a new FOResT user account using this email address. And if it's something that you did and expected, then you can continue on and click the link down below. But if it's not something you expected and you received it in error, don't click the link and to contact us at the main FOResT service. The other important part of this email message is right here, and this is your FOResT user ID number. And this is what you're going to use when either you or you would provide to other parties that are filling out a notification. If I was a landowner and I had a designated agent completing the notification, I would provide them with this number along with my last name from the account. And then they can put me in as the landowner on a notification. So this email is something I expected, and I'm going to click this link here that says Activate Account. And this is going to take me to FOResT to log in and to confirm my account here. And again, this is the same email address I put in to set up the account. And the same password that I put in when setting up the account. Sorry for all these little clicks here. Again, this is a test environment, so we just have some notes here just to let people know we've had people on the public side test this out for us when it was just a test version. So we're just have these messages here to want to make sure that past testers of FOResT are aware that this is a test environment and anything they enter in here is not valid. That they need to go use the public one. Okay, so just to review, we've set up an account to come into FOResT to start using it. One thing before I pause for questions, like Dan mentioned is in his overview, in the upper right-hand corner of all the pages in FOResT is this information on who you're signed in as and your FOResT user ID. So in addition to the email that was sent to you to activate your account, where your FOResT user ID is, when you're logged into FOResT, it's also presented to you here too. So at this point, if there are any questions, welcome to take them. And I can't see the chat, so I don't know if there's anything in there either.
No, I don't see anything in the chat box either.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. If you can
Sure.
hear me, my name's Jed.
Yeah.
I've pulled up the same pages as you and signed in as we've been doing this. I'm not seeing a create notification button on the upper right of my screen. Is there something I missed?
So you're logged into FOResT,
Yes.
and in the upper right-hand corner, it has you signed in as
My name, Jedediah Talbot, with my FOResT
Okay.
user ID.
So are you a landowner or designated agent?
Designated agent. I have not signed in as a designated agent yet. No. Sorry, that's what I'm.
No, it should be everyone would have the option to see that create notification. I was just wondering, and I apologize if you're a state employee or a Maine Forest Service employee, the view would look different here, and you wouldn't have the option to create a notification. So, but it sounds like you're not, and you have a forest user ID up at the top. So,
Yes.
but you have the rest of the page as it's showing up here, my pending
Yeah.
notifications.
Yes.
I would try just logging out and logging back into FOResT.
Okay. I did that actually already once as we've been on the call, but I'll happy to try it again.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just trying to figure out how I could start to create a notification as we're doing this, and probably not finish the process, and I'm not seeing how to click that button.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I'll go through this process, and then if you're still running into problems, I'll be glad to help you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So this is the dashboard page. Like Dan pointed out, some main features here. Along the top right hand, there's my profile, a link to go where you can update your information, everything except for the email address. There's a link to contact us, and then a button to sign out from FOResT completely. Then in the main part of the page, for most people, there's a button here, hopefully that allows you to create a notification, and we'll take that process in a second. There's also my pending notifications, and these are ones where you have started filling out a notification, and it's either in draft mode where you still need to complete the process of certifying or filling out rest of the notification. It'll also list out the ones that are pending certification, and these were ones where you've done your part, you've certified it, but you're waiting for other parties on the notification to certify their participation in that notification. And again, there'll be links over to the right here that would allow you to go back and either, if it's in draft, you can go in and start, you can edit any part of it and certify it. If it's in pending certification, you would just see the summary page and all the information that's been filled out for that notification. The other part of the page is my active notifications. And these are ones where everything is complete on it. It's been certified by all the parties involved on the notification, and it has been signed a notification number. In this situation, you would have some basic information on when it became active, beginning and end date for the operation, as well as the activities. Is it a harvest, road construction, or water crossings involved in this notification? And then there will be a link here on the far right for you to click on, where you would see the summary page again, as well as you can print the posting for that notification out. So what we're going to do is we're going to start creating a notification. We'll click on this button here. And you'll notice the views changed a little bit. Along the top is this sort of this path to getting to a notification. It starts out with the overview section. Then once that's completed, you go to the mapping. And from there, you go to the activity details, where you're asked questions based on what you mapped for activities. Then you put in the other parties that are involved in the notification in the contact section. And then the last step is the summary, where you review what you've entered on the notification. You certify that the information is correct. And it's either, if in some situations it's a landowner and harvester are the same person, once that landowner has completed the summary and certification section, because they are also the harvester on a notification, they are immediately, the notification becomes active and are presented a notification number. Like it's been said several times, if there are other parties involved, they would have to be certify their involvement before a number would be generated So for now, yeah, and I do want to point out that was mentioned in Dan's presentation that haven't started doing anything on the overview page, and I can't click these steps to jump ahead. This is a progression. So I have to complete the overview section first. And like I mentioned with setting up the account, I did not put myself down as a licensed forester, so I cannot say that I am one on a notification. I would actually have to go back to my profile if I was a licensed forester, put in that information, and then come back, and this would, you'd have to kind of reload the page, but this option would become available for you to say that you're a licensed forester on a notification. You'll also notice there's a little note here just saying that you know, either a landowner or landowner's designated agent is required to create a notification. Then just one more thing here, these little information icons, if you hover over them or click on them, they're going to display more information about what we mean by landowner or designated agent or harvester here. So in this demo, I'm just going to say I'm the landowner's designated agent, and you'll notice down below here, some things are going to change. You're going to be presented with a few more questions. I'm going to say I'm the landowner's designated agent, and because of that, now I can start putting in some details about this notification. The first part is the operation schedule. I'm just going to say that this is going to start tomorrow, and it's automatically going to put out the end date for 2 years. And this can, if it ends up that the activity is going to be less than 2 years, this notification can be closed out as part of the filling out the landowner report form. But by default, we have it going to the full 2 years. The next part is the property details, and this is where we're going to put down the town we're doing our activity in, and we'll pick Abbott. And then we're going to put in the nearest all-weather road. And yeah, I just want to reiterate that the questions that we're presenting on here are ones that are on the paper version of the FON right now. We aren't introducing any new questions. The only slight variation is when we get to the contacts with the landowner. We did bring 2 of the questions from the landowner report forward to be on the FON now. But besides that, these are exact same questions that are on the paper form now. The property parcel size in acres. I'll say it's 450 acres, and it was purchased within the last 5 years. And that completes filling out the overview section. Before I click next and we get into the mapping, are there any questions? All right, I'm just going to move right along here. I'm going to click next. And it's taking me to the second step here, the mapping. And just to show you, you can go back to the overview section if you want to change any information here. But you can also, because we've done the overview, we can jump ahead to the mapping section. And again, like Dan mentioned in his presentation, Abbott is centered. That's the town we're doing the activity in, and that is centered on the map here. Like he also mentioned, this is very similar to using Google Maps or Google Earth to move around on it. You just click and you can move around. There are also buttons to the right here to zoom in and to zoom out. Then there's also along the right hand side here, there's a button that is looks like 3 little trays. If you click on that, it's going to display give you some options here. Right now we have just 2 options for base maps. By default, it's going to display the topo map, but if you want to, you can change that to imagery. And then it also shows you the town boundaries. If we're in a LUPC town, it's going to show you the sub-districts in those towns. And then if you're in a statewide standard town, it'll also display those features around statewide standards, and we'll see that just here in a second. And then by default, we also have, it's off by default, but we also have 2 different critical wildlife habitat from the U.S. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, either Canada lynx or critical salmon habitat. I'm just going to turn that off, and I'll leave the aerial photo on for now. Now let me just go back up to the top here. I'm going to change that back to topo. And just to close this, you just click on those 3 trays again. And right now, all you can see is the topo map, but we've have this set up so that as you're zooming in, you'll get to a certain level where it'll start displaying the statewide standard features in the town, because Abbott is a statewide standard town. And you'll see there that the stream and the buffer features are displayed. So what we'll do first is we'll create a harvest, and that's sort of the bottom third of the page is these buttons, and the first one is harvest, and we'll click on that. And what it'll do is over to the left-hand side here, it gives you some instructions. If you're not familiar with drawing a polygon on a map, it gives you some information on how to do that. And basically, you have a, I don't know if you see my cursor, but this little dot there, and you just click once to start drawing, and then you just drag. And then when you want to change directions, you just click again. And you'll notice once I clicked on that second point, and I want to put a third point in, it's starting now to calculate the acres. We'll start to display here. And you just continue clicking to draw the harvest layout that you want. And then when you're done, just double click, and that stops the drawing. You can go back in. You can either click on one of the points that are already here to click and drag it and change the shape you want. You can also put in additional points along the line. You see there's a point kind of floating there. You click once and just drag. And you can continue to tweak that however you want that shape to be. And then you'll notice down on the bottom part of the page is this table. And there's this number 1 for activity ID, and it's for the harvest. And you'll notice on the map itself, there's this number 1 here, which corresponds to the activity for the harvest. Right now, I can go in here and change this with these points however I want to. But once I hit save, it's going to remove the ability to edit that shape. If I just want to completely start over, I can click cancel here, and it'll just wipe that shape out of the way for me, and I can start over. But for now, we'll say that's a good estimate of what we're going to be doing for a harvest. Now click save, and you'll notice that the points are gone, and that shape is now uneditable. But now in the table, you can delete it, similar to the cancel button before. You delete it, and it would remove it completely from the map, and you can start over. The next activity you can map is road construction, and just click on the road construction button here. And again, like all three of these buttons, you're presented on the left-hand side on how to draw road construction on the map. And it's you just start with a point, you click once, and then you just start dragging, and immediately it starts calculating out the feet or length of the road in feet for you. And when you want to change directions, you just click. And then when you're done drawing, just double click, and that allows you to stop the drawing. Very similar to the polygon or the harvest. You can click on these points to change their shape or direction, and you can add more along the line if you want to by clicking and dragging. So down in the table, there's this number 2, sorry, jumping around here on the map, there's the number 2, which is for the road. Down in the table is number 2, road construction. We also, in addition, we asked the question, is this road temporary or permanent? And I'm going to say it's a temporary road. And again, you're to the right-hand side here, you can save it or cancel. And again, cancel removes it completely, but we're going to save it. And very similar to the harvest, once it's saved, you cannot change the shape of the road, but you can delete it by clicking on the delete button in the table. The last feature or activity you can draw on the map is water crossing. So we'll click on the water crossing button. And this is a point. And again, it to the left-hand side gives you instructions on how to draw a water crossing. So we're just going to drop this where we want to put in a water crossing. Just click once and it's there. Excuse me. Similar, it still hasn't been saved, so you can click and drag this point wherever you want to put that crossing. Again, this is the third feature or activity on the map. So there's a number 3 by it. So that corresponds to the number 3 in the table below, saying it's a water crossing. Similar to the road, we ask if it's a temporary or permanent. We'll say it's temporary. And then we also further ask, is it a road crossing or a skid trail crossing? And we're going to say it's a road crossing. And again, you can either save it or cancel it to remove it completely. We're going to save it. And that the only option now for that crossing is to delete it. And I just want to show just a little bit that you can draw multiple activities on the map. So I'm just going to go over here and draw another harvest. And very similar, you can continue to change your shape however you want to do that. Click save. And you can also delete that if you want to. And when you delete, you're prompted to, are you sure you want to make sure you want to delete this permanently? Excuse me. Just reviewing my notes here, make sure I don't miss anything. Are there any questions on the mapping? All right. So the next step on the path here is activity details. So I'll click next. As Dan mentioned in his presentation, the activity details are going to present you questions related to the activities that you mapped. So the first one is around the harvest acres or harvest activities. And I'll just show you some of the built-in checks here. So put in that I want to cut 600 acres. The check is built in to check against the parcel size that you put in the overview section. And in that section, I put in 450 acres. So it's saying you need to have it less, your harvest has to be less than your parcel size. So we'll change that to 400. Is the land in tree growth? Yeah, it is. And then the next question is about if this is going to be, the land is going to change use in the next 2 years. We check yes here. Dan mentioned this in his presentation, that we aren't looking for, very specific information. We don't need to know if it's a garden or a wheat field. We have these, sort of broad areas of land use change categories, and you would just pick one of those, and then you would identify the number of acres that would be changed. The next two questions are related to clear cutting. And I'm just going to change this just so I don't cause too much grief for myself here. So the clear cutting acres are dynamically presented to you based on your harvest size. So right now we have a 400 acre harvest. So you have the option or ability to create clear cuts that are greater than 75 acres as well as greater than 20 acres. But I kind of want you to see these two questions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this from 400 acres down to 40 acres. And you'll notice that question about the larger than 75 acres clear cuts has disappeared because your harvest size is less than 75 acres. And then similarly, if we took this down to 19, the clear cut acres, the clear cut question about greater than 20 acres disappears also. So we're trying to kind of only present you with questions that you need to fill out based on what you've already answered. So we'll just say we're creating 20 acre clear cuts or greater, but not greater than 75 acres. And again, these are the same questions that are on the paper form now. The next question has to do with if you're harvesting within 250 feet of any great pond, river, or wetlands, or within 75 feet of any stream. And we'll say yes to that one. The next question has to do with if you're going to be adding wood to a stream consistent with Maine Chapter 25 rules. If you had questions about what Chapter 25 rules are, this is a link here. I'm not sure if it shows up well on your screen, but when you hover over it, you can see that it's clickable. And when you click on it, it takes you to our website and specifically to Chapter 25, so you can read more about that. And I'll try to remember to point out when we come across other links like that, just to try to help you better understand what these questions are about. I'm going to say we're not adding any wood to the stream. Abbott is a statewide standard town, so you're presented with the question around what option you'll be using to comply with Chapter 21, Section 7 for shade and tree retention. And again, this Section 7 is a link here. Click on that, and that's going to take you to that information. And we're just going to say 60 square feet of basal area retention. And now we come to a part where this is a glitch in the system that we're working on fixing here. These questions should only be presented in LUPC towns where activities are occurring in LUPC areas. So So these would go away in a normal activity in Abbott. You can just put in 0. It does ask you, we did say that the road were going to be temporary, so we wanted to pick a date when that will be discontinued. So we'll just say the 25th. And again, this question around constructing a management road in FEMA floodplain would only display in the LUPC area. And we're working on correcting that here so that they aren't displayed in organized towns. Then we did map a water crossing, but there are no specific questions related to that. And it just says down here, just to review the water crossing requirements on the summary page. And that completes filling out the activity details section. Are there any questions before we move on to adding other contacts to this notification?
There's a question in the chat about what constitutes a temporary road. Do you remember what the time frame is that it has to be removed?
We can show that. It's going to show up in the summary, but I believe it's after 7 months. If it's not removed within 7 months, it's considered permanent. And Dan, George, you can jump in and correct me or add in more info.
If I can clarify the question, talking about a road here, if it's, when you say 7 months, it just means you're not going to use it anymore, or you're actually going to go put it to bed?
I believe it's if you don't remove it within 7 months after, if it's still in place after 7 months, it's considered permanent, and then there's other, I believe, permitting requirements. And I defer to Dan and George on that.
So the permanent road issue, I'm not entirely sure what the story is behind that, but the difference between a permanent crossing and a temporary crossing is that 7-month period. So there is a little variation in the shoreland zoning rules about removal of temporary crossings. But basically, a temporary crossing has got to be removed within 7 months. It can only be installed for 7 months, with some slight variation between the different shoreland zoning rules on that. The road issue, I'm not entirely sure. I think I'd have to research that. I've always found that slightly confusing in the new FOResT system, so I definitely want to look into that a little bit further. The temporary road thing, the only thing I can think about with that is maybe that might be a fire suppression related deal, where that if you have a permanent road and then you want to block it off and put it to bed, the Forest Service is supposed to be notified due to fire suppression access issues. So yeah, the temporary road thing, I'd need to look into that a little bit more, Andy.
Any other questions? All right, we'll continue on with adding contacts to this notification. Click next. And again, I just want to reiterate along the top here, you can go backwards if you need to and make changes if you want to add more activities to the map, and then any of the activity details. You can move backwards, but you still can't move forward to the summary until we get all the contacts in place. So I'm filling this out as a designated agent. So as doing sort of some prep work before getting to the point of completing a notification, good communication is a key. You want to talk to the landowner, as well as in this situation the harvester operator. They should already have been into FOResT, set up their accounts, and you would already have their name and their FOResT ID, so you can enter it here. And so I'm just entering the landowner's last name and their FOResT ID. And if you enter it incorrectly, you'll get a note here saying that it couldn't find the match because it's looking for a match between the last name as well as the ID. And just to double check what you have for information. And I forgot to enter another 2 here. So it's given me the landowner. If this is the one that present on this is what you want on this notification, you'd keep it. If it is not, you would remove it and put in the correct information for their last name and their FOResT ID. And again, these additional questions, these were on the Landowner Reports in the past. We brought them forward to be part of the notification now. And I'm going to say that the landowner owns 101 to 1,000 acres. And then we have the ownership type, and we have these, again, these little information icons to give you a little bit more information on what we mean by these different landowner types. And we'll just click on non-industrial land or private woodlot for this landowner. For the designated agent, I'm the one filling it out, so my information is already populated in here. And then we also need to put in a harvester operator for this notification. So again, I've already done my homework. The harvester's already done their homework and has set up an account in FOResT. They've already provided me with their name and the FOResT ID that they have for their account in FOResT. Put that in, find harvester operator. It's displayed here. If it's not the right person, you can remove them and put in different information to get to the correct person. Licensed forester is optional, so if there is one as another party on this notification, again, you'd put in their last name and their FOResT ID number, not their license number, but their FOResT ID number, and repeat the process here. And that completes adding other parties to this notification in the contact section. Are there any questions? All right, go on to the summary page, the section of this notification, clicking next. So this is a summary page, and this is where you're basically just reviewing what you've already entered. Could somebody, I think, is not muted? Getting a little feedback here. So this is the FON summary page is where you're reviewing everything you've already entered in these previous steps here. Just a note here that the status is draft, and it stays draft until you've certified in this demo and this part of it. Certified, once I've certified my part of this summary page, it'll change from draft to pending certification because we'll need the landowner and the harvester operator to certify their participation also on this notification. So we're just going to go down through here. The first section is the contacts. What was just entered for landowner, designated agent, harvest operator. We didn't indicate a licensed forester, but we need to check that I certified that this information is correct. This is a little bit different from the overview section in Dan's slide. I think it just said marked as red. So that's a little bit of a change. Once the contacts are certified, you're reviewing what you entered for overview in the overview section. And just you would, if it's all good, just you check the box, I certify that this information is correct. And if you find there's an issue there, you can go back to any of these sections and change your answer, what you wanted to put down, and then you can return to the summary page. And so if that is the situation, what happens when you return to the summary page is even though you might have checked some things saying you certified them as correct, it's going to basically uncheck those, and you will need to review everything again. That's just because the system doesn't know what was changed, and we want to make sure that these checkboxes are all done in one viewing down through the page here. So contacts is correct. The overview section, just reviewing what you put in there, that is correct. Now we're looking at the map, what you put in for activities here. Pretty much all the same functionality as you had in the mapping section. You can move around, zoom out, zoom in. You can also change it to imagery if you want to. The only thing you can't do is add more activities, but besides that, you can just review what you've already entered in the mapping section. Again, if you find you need to add or remove things, you would go to the mapping, back to the mapping section and do that. And then the table right below the map is just listing out those activities, 1, 2, and 3, and what those entailed on the map. If that's correct, you would just check, I certify that this information is correct. Then you're reviewing what you entered for activity details. And again, these the chapter 25 here is a link also. So even if you're not on the activity details, you can still go see what chapter 25 rules is all about. As well as in this example, you can go to the section 7 of chapter 21 and see what that's about. Again, the road construction activity, this will go away because it's in an organized town. It would only be displayed in a LUPC area. And then water crossings, it just says that you will be constructing as part of this operation, and then just review the crossing requirements down below. Then there are important reminders. So just check, again, this is just all reviewing what you've already entered. If it looks good, check certify that this information is correct. Then if you have specific questions and want to get a hold of our local staff at the Forest Service, we present the district forester for that town, as well as the regional office for forest protection. And we'll be updating this text here because it's a little in this section here. It does certify as correct, but really it probably should just more say, I've reviewed, I've seen the contact information. That's we're not asking you to certify that information is correct for our Forest Service contacts. So that the text for that checkbox will be changing here. So that basically that part of the summary is reviewing what you've entered. Now it comes to the part where there's these important reminders. So based on what you've put down for what you're going to be doing on a notification, we're presenting you with additional information to be aware of or to consider. Again, there's these general reminders just to be familiar or aware of any local ordinances by checking with the town or municipality, as well as just be familiar with all the rules before you start your activity, and just plan well in advance. And so there are no important reminders around the harvest that's going to occur. There are two reminders, and again, this gets back to sort of what we were talking about, the road. If it's beyond the 7 months, it's considered permanent, and the permit may be required. And there's Chapter 11, Section 11 of Chapter 21 there. Around the permitting. And this is probably something that needs to be addressed further, because it looks like this is about crossings. And then again, this note here, the second reminder, is about FEMA floodplain zone, constructing a road within a FEMA floodplain. And again, that would be displayed in the LUPC area. It's just saying that road permit must be submitted to the Forest Service prior to the starting of the activity. And then there's the question about the water crossing reminder that must be maintained and closed out in accordance to Chapter 21 rules. And then there's also these general reminders about specific forest quarantines that fall within, that's at the town level. So these would be forest quarantines that are in effect in Abbott. And these are each links. So if you click on one of them, it's going to take you to our website and to that specific quarantine. So you'll see the latest information there, as well as information about important Atlantic salmon habitat. And then there's again, you'll notice at the bottom here, there's a Certify button that's grayed out. I can't click on it because I haven't checked all the boxes here in the summary page to say that it's all correct. Once I click that last one, this Certify button becomes active and I can click on it. And then you're presented with a series of acknowledgement statements and that have to be acknowledged before you can certify your part or your involvement in this notification. The first one is just that you've certified that all the answers to the questions are correct to your best of your knowledge and belief. The second one is that the landowner, you're the designated agent, and the landowner must sign the notification or sign into FOResT and certify that I'm the designated agent. And then the last one is it's basically saying that the fawn will not be submitted to the Forest Service until all the parties have listed, all the parties listed on here have certified and accepted their participation. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but and then once they're all certified, the fawn will be submitted to the Maine Forest Service, and that you understand that there's a requirement to comply with all the permitting and other documentation that were identified in the important reminders section here. So once those are acknowledged, the button here for certify, it becomes active. Up until this point, I could click cancel. I could go back and change anything on the notification I want to. Once I hit acknowledge and certify, a couple things happen. First one is it goes from a draft notification to one that's in pending certification. That's because when I click that button, the other thing that happens is emails are sent to the other parties on the notification. In this case, it's landowner and harvester operator. And they're sent emails, and we'll see it shortly, but just asking them to approve their participation in this notification. So up until this point, I could click cancel and do anything I want to update this notification. Once I click acknowledge and certify, that changes, and I'll show you here in a second. And I've timed out. I need to log back in here. There's a 15-minute, it's a security thing, there's a 15-minute if no activity occurs on a page, then you're logged out. And again, that's that timeout feature where it's going to be updating soon, so that actually when you're getting close to 15 minutes, you're presented with a notice saying that that's going to occur, but give you the option to continue staying logged into FOResT. So sorry for that little hiccup, but so I clicked acknowledge and certify. This notice comes up saying that you've successfully certified the fawn, and the other contacts have been notified, and that the fawn is no longer editable, but you can withdraw it if you want. Just click OK. A couple of things on this page now have changed. We are on the summary for this notification, but you'll notice there's that path to making a notification is no longer there. The status is now pending certification. The only option you have now is to withdraw it, and withdrawing it would allow you to go back and change whatever you want to on the notification, but it would stop the ability for the other parties to certify their participation on it. And again, this summary page is just, there's no check boxes, but this is just presenting you the same information you reviewed, and check the boxes to say that you certify the information is correct. So just to review, just briefly, I'm the designated agent on this notification. I've filled it out with all the information I could. I've identified a landowner as well as a harvester operator, and neither one of them are me, so I am waiting for those two to check their email for a notice saying, hey, you need to come into FOResT and acknowledge or approve your participation on this fawn. So as of right now, I've done my part here on this notification. Are there any questions before I change roles from being a designated agent on this notification to being a landowner?
Along the same vein as the question that was asked about getting a copy of the map you produce, is there an option to export this to PDF, for example, or somewhere, print a hard copy, paper copy of the finished fawn?
At this point, there is not, and I'll show you when we get to the actual active notification. I'll show you that there's the ability to print the posting, but what I thought was going to occur to be able to print out the summary page is not there yet. It's in the list of things to be in the to-do list.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's a question in the chat. If I am both landowner and licensed forester, do I have the same ID number?
Yes, you do. Yep, what you would do is, and I'll just want to clarify, is that, so you log into FOResT, and I'm logged in, Greg Lord, and this is my FOResT ID. In this demo, I just chose to be the designated agent, but I could I could have easily selected I'm the landowner, but I could also say I'm the harvester or the licensed forester as well. And that's all under the same account. And I know it's caused some confusion in the past that people thought for all the different roles on a notification, I needed different accounts, and you do not need to.
Another question in the chat. 3 weeks ago, I was unable to delete a draft. Has that been fixed?
It has not. I think it's on the next
Release?
release coming out. And understand that when I mean release, it's released from our developers to us to test. So it's still going to be a few weeks after we review it that it actually goes to the production version.
All right, another chat question. Is there a way to amend a font after all parties certify?
So at this point, there is not. We are working on having the ability to upload an attachment to a notification, but that is not in place yet. But again, that's another one that's on the list, the to-do list. All right, I'm going to continue on here. I'm going to sign out from FOResT for this account. I'll close that. And so now I'm the landowner on this notification. And I would go to my email, designated agent, probably give me a call, just say, hey, I've done my part. You should have an email in your inbox asking for you to approve your involvement in this. So I'm logged in as the landowner, and I have this email in my inbox. And it's just saying that there was a notification created by Greg Lord through FOResT and is currently pending certification by all the participating parties. I've been identified as the landowner on this fawn, and I must certify that the information is correct. And I understand the responsibilities, my responsibilities of this operation before the fawn is submitted to the Forest Service. We've also presented some very basic information about this notification, the town and the begin and end date, just a little bit of information for those that may get a few of these emails at a time, just to help them understand which one they're addressing here. We also give a little bit further instructions on if you certify the fawn is correct and you understand your responsibilities, you approve of this fawn. You can also have the option to decline this, and it's returned to either for corrections or with complete withdrawal if you don't approve of this fawn. And then it just, once they're all certified and submitted to the Forest Service, a notification number is issued. And then right at the very bottom is this link to either approve or decline my involvement as the landowner on this notification. So when I click on this link, it takes me back to FOResT. And I'll log in as the landowner. Again, I've already gone in here. I already have an account, so my email address and my password is already in here. Again, we're in the test environment, so this notice comes up, but in the real world, you would not see this notice. And what this does is by clicking on the link in the email address, in the email that you received, excuse me, you log into FOResT and it's going to take you directly into this notification that you need to certify participation on. If you kind of bypass the email and you just went in and logged into FOResT, you would have to go on to the dashboard and figure out, if you had multiple funds, figure out which one you needed to certify. But by using the link in the email message itself, it'll take you directly to the notification that you need to certify. So again, this is very similar to basically it's where we left off with the designated agent. It's in summary, is the summary page. It's pending certification. If this is something I completely don't want to do at all, I can just click decline here and it's kicked back to the designated agent, letting them know that the landowner declined participation. However, if you're still good with this notification, you're reviewing this exact same information that the designated agent did on the summary page. The contact information, if this is all good, you would click certify that this information is correct. The overview section. Reviewing the map. Again, same functionality is here. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can also change this to imagery if you want to. Exact same functionality that the designated agent had. Just cannot add new activities here. And again, the table lists out what the mapped activities are related to. Click certify is correct. Then the activity details. Again, just reviewing what's on the notification. And again, these links, chapter 25 and section 7 are active. And then if you wanted to reach out to the Forest Service, our contact information is here. And then the important reminders again, this is all the exact same information the designated agent was presented with. We're not presenting anything different to the different parties. They're all seeing the exact same thing and have to certify the same information. Again, I haven't checked all the boxes, so I can't certify here. Once I have, the certified button becomes active. And if there are any questions you have here on any of these sections, is to get on the phone and talk to the designated agent to get a better understanding of what's going on. I've reviewed it all. It's all agreeable to me. So I'll certify my part as a landowner. Again, similar statements. As the landowner, I certify the answers to the questions are correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. As a landowner, I understand there's a designated agent, and I've given them a responsibility for all the operations. And then the last one is about, excuse me, that the fawn isn't going to be submitted to the Forest Service until all the parties are listed that are listed on here have reviewed and accepted their participation, as well as understanding that the activities on this notification cannot begin until all the permitting and other documentations identified in the important reminder section are completed and approved. And then again, I could, cancel this and decline if I totally don't want to do any of it. But in this case, I'm agreeable to everything, so I'm going to click acknowledge and certify. And you get a notice just saying that you successfully certified this fawn and that other contacts must still certify. But you can still review the summary page for this notification. And again, the decline button is gone now. I've certified that as the landowner. I've certified it. And again, I can just review the summary page for what's proposed on this notification. So I'm going to sign out. I should have pointed out this earlier when I first got in here, but I'm signed in now as the landowner with this different FOResT ID. I'm now going to sign out from FOResT as the landowner. Just cleaning some things out here. So now the last part before this notification is complete is the harvester operator needs to certify their involvement in this notification. And you'll see this is very similar to what we just did with the landowner. So now I'm looking at I'm the harvester operator. I've gone to my email. I have this message here for a fawn that's pending certification. I open it up. Very similar information as what the landowner saw. The only difference here is just that now I'm the harvester operator on this fawn. Same information about the notifications presented here, and then also the same what your options are to approve or not approve the fawn. And the link down here to either approve or decline your involvement on the fawn. We'll click on that. That message. So now I'm, excuse me, logging in as the operator. FOResT. Because I've already gone in here as a harvest operator, I've set up my account with this credentials, and I'm going to sign in now, and it's going to take me to that summary page for this specific notification. Similar to the landowner, I could decline it completely if I wanted to, but I can also see that the designated agent and landowner have already certified their parts on this. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think we've reviewed this pretty well. Again, this is just a summary page, and it's what the designated agent and landowner have already certified. So it's the exact same information and the exact same process. Again, if I wanted to, I could decline completely right off the bat. I don't want to be involved with this notification, but I could also go through here and review these sections on what's on this notification, and I can certify that it's correct. If I have questions about what's on here, I contact the designated agent for clarification before I certify. Again, the map, excuse me, the same functionality as what we saw with the designated agent and landowner. Go in here and change to imagery. Zoom in further if I need to. The table lists out those activities. That looks like what we've already talked about. I'm going to say that's correct. The activity details, what's involved with the harvest and the road and the water crossings. If I have questions for the Forest Service, contact information is here. And again, the same important reminders that the landowner and designated agent were presented also. And then again, certified button isn't active until I've certified all the information here is correct. And then once I check those boxes, I can certify my participation as the harvester operator. And harvester operator only has two statements here. First one is just that the harvester operator I certify all the answers to the questions are correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And that, you know, I understand there may be other parties that need to certify before this is submitted to the Forest Service, as well as that, you know, other documentation and permitting may be required based on what's in the important reminders. So at this point, this fawn is still in a pending certification status. There is still opportunity to do things to it. If I canceled here, decline my participation in it, it would be kicked back to the designated agent and they could change whatever they needed to on it. And then we would repeat the same process with the landowner and harvester operator again. However, just in this demo, we know that I'm the last, as the harvester operator, I'm the last party to certify my involvement here. So once I click acknowledge and certify, the notification automatically changes from being in pending certification. It's changed to active, and it is assigned a notification number, and you're given the option to print a posting for it. And we'll see that here shortly, but just want to clarify that, you know, up until this point, there's still the possibility to change things on this notification. But once the last party certifies their participation, that notification becomes active, and editing is not an option. I'll click acknowledge and certify, and you get a notice saying, hey, you successfully certified the fawn. It's been submitted to the Maine Forest Service and is now active. Click OK. And now you're back on the summary page for this notification. And a few things changed here. You notice before it just said fawn summary. Now it has fawn with a number and a summary. The status has changed now to active. And you're given the option here to print the posting. Click on that, and it gives you the sort of standard posting sign there. And getting back to that, the question about being able to print this whole page, my hope coming very soon is you would have this print posting button here, would print the posting, but then you could also within the browser go to the print function, click that, and be able to print this summary page. Right now, when I click print, it takes me right back to printing the posting. So again, that's another tweak we're working on correcting so that people have the ability to print this whole summary page out. Another thing that changed on the summary page is as we present information about landowner reports, this FOResT system does have the ability to complete the landowner reports for these fawns that are submitted through FOResT. Right now, we have it set so that they don't become active until December 1st. But it gives you some information on, you know, landowner reports, what it's all about and how we use it and who should fill it out. And then below that, just briefly, is the same stuff we've looked at a couple of times now, is that the certifications, who's certified it and when, and then all the other parts of the summary page, the contacts, the overview, the map. Again, still have the function there to come in and look at it closer if you want to. And then spells out what the activities are on this notification. And then the activity details. main Forest Service contact information, and then the important reminders. And again, these still are active links here. Excuse me. There's just a couple of other things I wanted to touch on. But before I go there, I just wanted to pause and just, there was kind of a few steps there covered, just if there are any questions.
Well, there's a couple questions in the chat, and I'll give you the easy one first. If you have multiple roles, do you need to certify for each role, or are your roles combined into one certification?
Yeah, all your roles are in one certification. So if I was the landowner and harvester, I would just go through the summary once, and once I acknowledged and certified, I would immediately get a notification number. And would be at this position. I would be looking at an active notification.
And then the harder question, for those who manage industrial or commercial forest lands, oftentimes a designated agent signs for the landowner, who may be a corporation or a family group. So how is this going to be working the new system? I sort of paraphrased.
Yep. So I'll do my take on it, and then if Stephen Nicholas is on, he can jump in and correct me. But what we've had this conversation with some organizations, and what we recommend is if there's some sort of a manager, that they would be in there as the landowner, or if a manager, if there's a supervisor, they would be in as the landowner, and then the licensed forester, or if that in this situation, they could be down as a licensed forester and designated agent, and then they would do most of the work, and then the supervisor as in the landowner role would certify as the landowner. I hope that answered it. I know we do have it in our frequently asked questions.
That answers it for me pretty well. Thank you, Greg.
Yep. All right, so if there aren't any questions on this specifically, I just wanted to touch on a couple of different things. I mentioned the My Profile page. I'm going to go there now just so you can see what it's about. Click on My Profile, and you can go in here and update anything on here except for the email address. But everything else on here is editable. I just change it and then click update my profile, and that would update it. And just to be clear, that would not change your user ID. Whoever you're logged in as, that would stay. The other thing I wanted to show was the dashboard. When we first came in here, we had just set up a new account, and so my pending notifications and my active notifications were both empty. Excuse me. So I just wanted to show you what it looked like when you had a little bit more activity going on. So there's this my pending notifications. I have one pending certification, and I can go in here and click view. And I'm not even going to scroll down, but basically we've seen this before. This is, you need to go through the steps here to certify. I need to go through the steps here to certify my participation in this notification. The other part here is my active notifications. And again, these are ones that have gone through the whole process. They've been assigned a notification number. You see the town notification number, when it was done or submitted, and then the beginning and end date, and then the activities that are on this notification, Harvest Road construction and water crossing, and then you can click view here. And very similar, we've already seen this, there's a notification number, and then you can print the posting again, and then review any part of this notification you want to. That is all I wanted to show on the in-depth demo. Are there any other questions? If not, I don't know if anybody else, Dan or George, or have any other comments before we close out.
Yeah, Greg, this is Dan. I just want to make one quick comment that there's two questions in my mind that I am not sure we completely answered. One was in regard to tribal land, and the other was Andy's question regarding temporary roads and the definition of temporary roads.
Yep, that's what I have down, as well as there was
okay.
There was also a question about designated agent responsibilities to clarify. So.
Correct.
Okay. So when those are addressed, they're going to show up on the question and answer sheet on the website.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And they'll be, right now we have the January 29th version up there. So it'll be a updated, more recent one than that will have those questions. I think like you mentioned in these demos, we get, like today, we get questions that need further research. So we'll take those questions and make sure we get good answers for you, and we'll add them to the FAQs and update our website here with them.
Thanks, Greg. Good job. I'm going to go shovel.
Well, when you're done there.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate before we go, thank you all for attending. I hope it was helpful. We're always available for comments, questions, criticism, suggestions, anything. The goal here is to make this a good product for everyone to use, not just the Maine Forest Service, but everyone out in the real world also. So we appreciate hearing your struggles and give us an opportunity to improve this to help you as well. If there are no other comments, I want to thank you all again, and I hope you all have a good day. And we'll be doing this again on 2 weeks from today on the 17th. Thank you.